Hello and welcome back to another video of mine. Today I'm going to be going over what talent I personally use as a priest healer inside of ST Phase 3. These are just my own opinions. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the absolute best and you should necessarily follow it, but these are just things that I do think is best, and I'm going to give as much reasoning to my choices as possible. I'm also going to include doing the runes for this phase as well. So I think there is a couple of slight variations you can go with. I think discipline is still the king tree to focus in. I mean, just playing around with like holy, for example. I mean, you can get some good use out of it, but then okay, maybe I'll just like play around, so we can just like go something like this, not this, something here, I don't know, something there. I find that once you kind of get to this base, you got 9 points that really isn't going to do much here. It just feels wasted. Like, your crit's nice, your healing focus, you want to go that. You could put 3 ways to improve the move, and that's fine too. Divine Fury, again, very beneficial. Increased armor on crits, good. Reduce cost of your greater heals. Improve the range of your prayer healing. Like, all of these are very good base, but I just find with the 9 points here, it's like, what am I... Anything that I put it into is just kind of a waste. Like, maybe you go like this, I don't know. Maybe you go like something. You can even go something like this, I guess. Or, you know, maybe I don't know, something like along these lines, perhaps. I'm just going over this briefly because this is just something that I just don't consider. But this is an option. The reason why I don't like this so much is like, one, because I think this is a waste. And I think you miss out on a lot of regen, you miss out on a lot of mana, you miss out on power infusion. So I personally would avoid that. Strictly for PvE, I would be looking at wands, because in between healing, etc., you got some downtime. Why not do a little bit of extra damage? This doesn't really come into it, to be honest. And then we're looking at improved fortitude, a little bit extra health for your entire raid, which is always quite nice. You put points into Powered Shield. Powered Shield really isn't going to be a spell you should be using all that often. There is particular circumstances where yes, it's best to use it, but most of the time it's not. It's one of the least efficient spells that you have. More of a PvP thing, I see it as. But you got nowhere else to put points. You go for meditation because you want that passive mana regeneration. Inner focus is very nice because one, it's critical, it's a free cast. Also, it just breaks, like if you're trying to like hit the 5-second rule, and you can just cast inner focus as to not break the regen, so you can get a little bit more mana out of not casting, so to speak. And then this point here doesn't really matter too much. But that base here is pretty much what you'll always take. You can go 1 point in here. I mean, 1 point in martyrdom is here nice on I think it's Aranicus, because you do tend to draw a lot of aggro, so that doesn't actually occur. But being very PvE orientated and not being hit in a perfect world, I guess you just go with reduced threat. Maximum points into mental agility. This affects your powered shield, it affects your renew, it affects your palm, your circle of healing, so it does have a large effect, and your dots as well actually, so plenty of spells that will make good use of his talents. You go spirits. It's not going to help a great deal to your raid, but it will help, you know, yourself, your fellow healers, in particular your arcane mages. So no reason really not to pick this up. All 5 points into mental strength, increase that mana pool of yours, which is very, very good, because this will affect the amount of mana that your Shadow Fiend and your Dispersion will bring back to you. So it's really, really important. And you have 4 points. A lot of the other talents are kind of wasted for PvE, so it just makes sense to put 4 into Force of Will, because when you do your dots, you get a little bit more damage out of it. Power Infusion, no brainer. Here you can kind of go 2 ways. You can either just go full 5 points into Holy Spec, you get that crits, and then maybe go 5 points into this, or you can do some sort of variation of maybe 3 points there, like this. You go something like that, or you can even just go something like this. You can go to some sort of variation of this. I personally, that is like the safest thing to do, I think, is this. Because if you are getting hit for whatever reason, you're not going to be interrupting your spellcasting, which is obviously important. But I think you could probably just get away with this. It's just nice having the extra crit. So you can go some variation of that, but this is what I personally would go for. And then your runes, I would say some of them are a little bit dependent. So your head is a very straightforward choice, I think. Being a healer, when you crit with your heals, you get a protective shield. So again, that's just going to support your healing. We are looking at, again, a lot of these depend. Let's do this one at a time. Alright, waste. There's 2 choices. You get your Empowered Renew, which improves the efficiency of Renew, which is pretty nice. And then there's the Renewed Hope, which gives you 10% crits if your target has a weakened soul. I see Renewed Hope as more of a PvP thing, because shields are pretty valuable there. And then that burst healing can be needed, and I see the Empowered Renew as more of a PvE thing. Like I said before, I don't really use the shields if I can help it, because it's not very efficient. So yeah, that's my reasoning. So I would always just go Empowered Renew. PvP I would go Renewed Hope, but PvE, Empowered Renew. This is it's really unfortunate, because all 3 of these in a way could be competitive, because they're all good. But the downside with Spirit of the Redeemer is it requires you to go very deep in Holy, which I think is the inferior talent tree at the moment. Pain Suppression's also very nice, but there's not really many fights that really even require you to use this. But the reason why it's not competitive is because of just how good Dispersion is. PvE and PvP, this is 6% every second for 6 seconds. That's what, 36% of your mana. And so it goes back to how important your base mana is, because the larger it is, the more your Dispersion is going to regen for you. Plus, if you're using this correctly, you should be using this fairly early in fights. sometimes can be a little bit tricky. But you can use this when you're anticipating a large amount of damage coming your way as well, which would be kind of nice. But yeah, as on a 2-minute cooldown, this spell is ridiculously good. So it's pretty much a no-brainer to end up using this pretty much all of the time. The chest. Void Plague is an extremely good dot. If you're able to be more aggressive in a fight, I would say take this. Though, in this phase, because I was kind of anticipating a lot more healing focus in raids, I kind of dipped my toe into using this. So what I'm doing is I'm using the lowest rank of Flash Shield, because that's how you trigger the Serendipity. So I'm using the lowest rank of Flash Shield to sort of support the healing but help stack things up. In other phases, I don't think this is really viable, because Flash Shield it's a really bad heal to be spamming, because I go back to this a lot, but in terms of your healing per mana, it's pretty bad, or no, it's very bad in comparison to a lot of your other healing spells. So I never really considered this until this phase. But now that I'm using it, I really kind of like the use of it. It allows me to get some large amount of burst healing out very, very quickly. Once I get it stacked 3 times, you can do your greater heal plus your penance or whatever. So it's really, really nice. Some people I see run Strength of Soul. I never understood this, because I think it's awful inside of PvE, because it kind of promotes the idea of using Power Word Shield when I've already said it's one of the least efficient spells. So it's kind of promoting you use something really bad to gain very little from it. So I personally don't like it. Maybe it's more viable in PvP, but yeah, for PvE I think it's absolutely terrible. And that's how I kind of used Serendipity for the first phase, second phase, simply because it was, use one of your least efficient healing spells in order to gain a very good benefit. Nah. And to be honest, in phase 2 and phase 1, it didn't really require you to focus super hard on healing. You could, get a fair amount of damage off yourself. So, and I suppose it's the same with phase 3 in ST. If you're running 3 healers, it's going to be a little bit more intense. 4 healing at the moment with the buff to paladins, it feels a bit of a joke. So yeah, I think really, like if you want, and if you can be more aggressive with dealing damage, maybe you have 4 healers, you'd probably still take Void Plague. But if your healing is more intense for your guild, for your raid, or you have less healers, then it's always quite nice to have the Serendipity bonus. Wrist.
YouTube Music
I
is a
think
music app with personalized
that
mixes for whatever mood you're in or activity you're doing. Whether
this
that's
is kind of
working
split.
out or it's a whole
Naturally,
different
you will
ice
take
cream
Surge of
cone at night. Get
Lights
YouTube Music
because
premium.
its critical spellcasts support your Flash Heal, which again supports your build with Serendipity, and a little bit of healing here and there too, which is really, really nice. If you want to be more aggressive though, and you're going to be keeping your dots up and putting your dots up a lot, I don't really think there's a big issue in running critical strikes for your dots. So yeah, more focused healing, Surge of Light, or you can go to Spare. Hands really is dependent on the fight. You have the choice between Penance and Circle of Healing. I think a lot of the fights in ST is raid. There's a lot of raid damage and not so much tank focus. So for a good number of the fights, you're going to be running Circle of Healing. If not, you run Penance. I can't recall all the fights at the moment, but I think maybe maybe there's like 2 fights in ST, I would probably use Penance. It depends on like your other healers as well. If there's a couple of druids, and you know, someone needs to really be focusing on tanking a little bit. So it really depends on the composition. But for the most part in ST, you're going to be running certain healing, but then some fights maybe Penance. And this is the other one, the legs. Again, it's a case of, do you have homunculi in your raids? Most likely you're going to have other priests. Run a shadow priest, so homunculi is kind of taken, which allows you to use your best and most efficient healing spell, prayer of mending. Maybe your guild, if you don't have homunculi in the raid, you might be asked to do so, and it really hurts you because prayer of mending is so good. But yeah, for healing focus, prayer of mending, but if you need to support with your raid's damage, you might be asked to go homunculi. Both are exceptionally good. So yeah, as you can see with the runes, there is sometimes a little bit of conflict of choice, but it's just about applying logic of whatever situation you're in, and yeah, using the best spell available to you. So yeah, that's pretty much my rundown. So it will look like something like this. That is currently what I'm using, but I might even change to something like this. But yeah, as long as you're playing something like this, I think you're gonna be completely fine. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. There is a druid, a resto talent, sort of like overview. I have also up, so feel free to go check that out. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.